Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is the Clown Hour Podcast. I'm your boy, Scott Burks. That's me. And that's my main man, Dwayne Nash. Please check him out on the Yard/HBCU Sports. He raps about all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. You can check out his great work on herosports.com. He writes about FCS athletics, centering mostly on HBCU sports. And you can catch my sports blog, The Klown Times. That's Klown spelled with K. It's www.theklowntimes.net. And also you can get some merch right here on cafesports.com.
Get the merch.
Get the merch, yo. Get the merch. It's cafepressports.com. No, cafepress.com is messed up. / The Klown Times Sports. Again, it's Klown spelled with K. No dashes, no hyphens, no spaces. It's all one word. Get the merch right now. So as you can see, we're coming at you from the jungle and the basement. So we're going to kick things off with we're going to discuss some NFL, some college football playoff rankings. I have a big problem with that. I'm sure Dwayne has some thoughts as well. And also going to touch on the Errol Spence Jr. Matchup and where he stands in the pantheon, if you will, pound for pound fighters, greats, and rank him accordingly. Maybe we'll try and rank him. Maybe we'll just postulate what's next for the big dog. So we'll get into all that as well. But first, we're going to start with some NFL. Lots of big games this past weekend, man. Lots of big wins. Cleveland was winning big over Tennessee, but ended up pulling out anyway by the skin of the chins, I might add. You got the Giants, a huge upset at Seattle, yo. Huge upset to get the gain of the share of the division lead with your Washington football team pulling up the upset, beating my Steelers on Monday night, late Monday afternoon, I should say. COVID edition of Monday Night Football. Handed the Steelers their first loss of the year. Lots of thoughts about that game as well, but since we're both fans, you're a fan of the Washington football team. I'm a Steelers fan, so we'll start with that. I'm going to start with the bad and the ugly, and I'll work my way back to the good. So, Steelers are pitiful. They after playing a pretty good first half, scoring the game's first 14 points, they went in Operation Shutdown, to coin a term of a former Major League player back in the 80s, Operation Shutdown. Google it. Y'all outscored us the rest of the way 23-3 after that 14-0 lead. Actually, y'all trailed 14-3 at halftime. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, that is Pittsburgh's, I think, second or third loss in the Roethlisberger era after leading by double digits. I think I saw that stat somewhere, but I'll probably check it out later.
Well, I know the stat that was announced during the game was the first time that the Steelers have lost in Heinz Field while leading 14-0.
Well, there you go. This even makes it worse, so thank you for that. I mean, the thing is we had some missed opportunities. Obviously, we couldn't punch them 4 times from the 1 yard line, thanks to your defensive line, mainly Chase Young, stopping us on 4th down. Also, in the second half, we had a rookie kicker because our main kicker, Chris Boswell, was hurt. Mm-hmm. So instead of trying a 47-yard field goal from the 28-yard line, we decided to go on 4th and 1, had a stupid-ass play call where it was a wheel route to our 4th-string running back. Who does that? But anyway, not to take away from – we're going to get to your Washington football team, how they did and the performance that they had. But we couldn't run the ball. Steelers couldn't run the ball. We couldn't run block to save their lives. And, I'm just thinking that this is we've been living dangerously the past few weeks anyway. So, of course, a team that's playing with the playoff lives on the line, as Washington did, they came in and showed out on the road. But I think this Pittsburgh will be okay. I don't think they'll be first seed okay, if that makes any sense. I think Kansas City is the best team in the league anyway. Mm-hmm. And, they just proved it. How they lost to the Redskins, to the football team, proved that. So should I from your point of view, from a non-Steelers fan point of view, should I be worried? Should I be, and on the scale of worry from 1 to 5, how worried should I be?
Before I start talking about exactly how worried you should be, allow me to go ahead and get into character for this.
Uh-oh.
Because there's no way in the world I am not going to not celebrate this
As
win.
you should. The Rey
Today.
Mysterio is out. Washington Rey Mysterio is out.
Can you hear me, Scott?
I can hear you just fine, sir.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to keep this mask on too long because my big dome is entirely too large for this luchador mask. But
Right.
Either way, I have to celebrate. Oh, my God, there is no in the world that I thought going into this game that this would happen. As a matter of fact, for weeks on out, all that was discussed was how this team would get to this game, regardless of what happened the weeks prior, but they would go ahead and take a shellacking to the Steelers and hopefully would have to rebound in the subsequent weeks so that they can go ahead and continue to make a playoff rush.
So much for that.
So much for that.
Yeah.
With that said, you know, there are a lot of people out there that like to talk about the amount of days rest and whether or not that has anything to do with what happened on Monday. There were just a lot of things that were prevalent in that game. Like you said, the Steelers had an issue running the ball, but what a lot of people don't realize is that Washington plays the run quite well.
Yes.
They're
one of the
not
best defenses in the league, as a matter of fact.
Yes, they're one of the top 5 defenses in the league. Matter of fact, I think they're top 3, along with Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
To be exact. But if you look at them as a whole, their pass defense is tops in the league. Run defense is top 15 in the top half of the league.
Right.
They do a very good job stopping the run. And they forced Ben to pass the ball, I think, over 50 times.
53 times. 53 times, yes.
I mean, I understand that he has weapons in order to do that. But one of the issues that happened that was very prevalent during that game was the amount of balls that were dropped, especially by Eric Ebron.
Yes.
And that did not help at all. And it was funny because that game was aired on what network? It was on Fox. Daryl Johnston, Moose kept saying, if they keep dropping balls the way that they are, because not only were they dropping balls in the middle of the field, the balls are being deflected back into the air.
Yeah.
And if it just happened to be that a Washington defender would get close enough, they may pick it off. And that's how the game was sealed. There was a pass down the middle,
right, that
was deflected, and our linebacker Pierre Lewis picked it off, which sealed the game.
I thought it was Bostic. Bostic that did it to us.
Was it John Bostic? If it was John Bostic,
yeah,
even better, right? So Bostic with the pick in the middle of the field seals the game. But a couple of other things that stood out to me, like you said before, was the run game for the Steelers, or the lack thereof. I don't know if there was any concern or if there is concern about Benny Snell running the ball. Did James Conner play much?
He didn't play. He was in the COVID. He was in the COVID list.
That explains it then. You know, you have your bell cow out, but still I'm surprised that they didn't attempt to give the ball to James Conner, not to Conner, but to Benny Snell more.
He averaged 0.6 yards a carry. He was horrible.
0.6. Yeah, that's insane, dude. Dude, you can fall forward further than 0.6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
But that's a testament to how that Washington defense swarms runners,
right.
And how they've looked this year, especially thanks to Jack Del Rio.
Yes, that was huge.
Who have questioned his hiring in the first half of the season, if you could imagine that, because there were several games where the defense looked very porous. And there's still some spots where they still are vulnerable. I'm surprised that, the Washington's front, the defense that they played, by only rushing the front 4 and allowing the other 7 to play prevent, is what helped out with the win as well.
Right.
But one of the bigger things that I've been extremely critical of for the entire season And I had to go ahead and apologize to my man, Draft Jimmy Guy. That's at Draft Jimmy Guy on Twitter, who's huge into draft preparedness and does a lot of things in terms of covering college players. He made a comment about teams that need new special teams players, and I said that, you know what, Washington needs that too, especially from the kicker standpoint. And he tried to correct me, but I pointed out some stats that proved otherwise, because leading up into that game, Dustin Hopkins was 10 for 16 for field goals outside of 40 plus, and he was 3 for 3 that night. So that was a huge surprise.
Wow.
I would say his last 2 kicks, I did cover my eyes because I was expecting Dustin Hopkins to Dustin Hopkins, right? But he surprised me by hitting 4 big field goals from outside of 40. Well, 3 big field goals from outside of 40. Highly impressive. Was named NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. And that was big. And also another thing that I was a little concerned about was the loss of Antonio Gibson, the running back for Washington, and wondering how the offense would react to that. Barber and McKissick played well. And Alex Smith played extremely well.
He's a success story. I'm props to him. Props to him for rebounding the way he is.
Yeah.
It's just this is just courageous. I mean, someone on Twitter said that they should rename that award, the Comeback Player of the Year award, the Alex Smith Award. Yes. Seriously. Dude was almost lost his life.
Yes.
His limb and his life.
Yeah.
And he's back out balling. Can you remember how many of us, including yours truly, thought that Alex Smith coming back wasn't the best idea in the world? And look at it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. I said, hey, you know what? This dude, at best, it'll be a success story if he even suits up. I don't even really want him out there playing.
Right.
Lo and behold, he's 3-1 as a starter. You know, you can go ahead and throw that game out against the Rams because he's coming in as a backup with no preparation and a lot of trepidation. But he comes out there, he has a situation where his left leg is bleeding. And for a minute there, I was afraid to say, there go that leg. But, it's the other leg. And he didn't look concerned at all. Played through it, played well through it.
Right.
And Cam Sims, I talked about him a little bit last week. Cam Sims is starting to prove that he is that second viable option at wide receiver for the Washington football team. Right. And Logan Thomas had a big day at tight end too. So it'll be very interesting to see if
one more quarterback from Virginia Tech, as a matter of fact. I'll give that shout out.
And it's great to have him out there because he at times can be a decent blocker. Right. He has made some mistakes throughout the year, but you know he's still adjusting to the position. He was a tight end with the Lions, came over in the trade, and he seems to be doing well right now. I'm hoping that these guys can continue to play this way. But you talked about the Giants. You know, a couple of weeks ago, the NFC East was the laughing stock of the whole league, right?
And they go to Seattle, man.
Not only did the Washington football team go to Pittsburgh and get a win, the Giants went to Seattle and got a win.
Yes.
Both teams are both 5-7. Not only are they competing for the division title, but they are also a game out of the 6 and 7 spot in the playoffs right now.
That's right.
So it can be a situation where everyone only thought that one NFC East team can make it in. It's a possibility that 2 can get in right now.
How crazy is that? How crazy is that shit?
When everyone laughed at this division weeks, up until last week,
right?
Now nobody's laughing now. I just find it funny that this Giants team went up there basically with, I would say, 2 parts of the 2014 Washington football team offense with the starting quarterback in Colt McCoy and Alfred Morris, and went up there and manhandled the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, Wayne Gallman got the bulk of the yardage for the Giants. But Alfred Morris was the one that scored the rushing touchdown for them. And they're playing well, but I will say this. At one point in time, Colt McCoy is going to Colt McCoy. So
you're waiting for that other shoe to drop.
I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. I was expecting it to happen against the Seattle defense, and it didn't. Now, the thing is, it's a huge possibility that they may avoid that because I heard that there's some rumblings that Daniel Jones might return on Sunday. And you got to remember, with that hamstring injury, this is a dude who had that laughable trip up earlier during the season.
That still cracks me up to this day. Yeah,
it's still hilarious, still funny.
Poor guy.
I just hope that he's not rushing himself to help get this team back. If he could somehow wait another week, so they could probably lose. But if he could somehow wait another week, before coming back and potentially not re-injuring, but hey, if he feels as though that he's 100%, come on back because they need you. They need you.
Right, and that's the thing.
But that defense for the Giants has been balling. That defense is playing out of their mind for the past, for the past couple of weeks. Actually, that's what's been keeping this team really in it.
Hey, is it too early? Look, I try not to be prisoner of the moment guy, but is it too early to give props to Joe Judge for the job he's done? I mean, remember his hire was panned. Widely panned by you, by me, by most people with half brains out there, common sense. Like Judge Joe, who the fuck is Joe Judge? I messed him up. I call him Judge Joe instead of Joe Judge.
It's only a TV show, right? But
right, exactly. Joe Judge Mathis.
It was Judge Joe Mathis. And
exactly. Who's frat, by the way. But anyway, it's like
heard funny stories about Judge Mathis. Yeah.
I'm sure you have. The Giants are now back in the thick of things. And Washington football, who would have thought this to be at the beginning of the year? We all thought the NFC least was going to be out of the Eagles or the Cowboys division.
Yeah.
If literally flipped on this head, a 180-degree turn. Giants, Washington football team, top two squads in the NFC least, while the other two are languishing badly. And I'm happy to say, especially for the Cowboys, that they're languishing badly. Thank you, Baltimore. I don't give you props enough because I can't stand y'all. I can't stand those damn Ravens. But damn, you did me a solid. Thank you. And the rest of the Cowboy Hater Nation, thanks you, Baltimore. So thank you for smacking that ass and shutting Skip Bayless up.
Including myself, yes. But just think about it, though. And when the season started, all we kept talking about was, Philadelphia and Dallas. Well, Dallas has a new coach, but they have experienced quarterback.
They got their talent.
They got a lot of talent.
Yes.
Philly is bereft of talent at the receiver spot, but other than that, the defense was pretty good. Was still pretty good, and I love that addition of Javon Hargrave from South Carolina State and formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
And then you had Dallas, who on paper is the perennial divisional winner, but they just never capitalized on that. But you just thought that with a second-year quarterback and a new head coach, that both Washington and New York would be in trouble this year. No. They're the divisional leaders right now, and one of those teams is going to end up eventually winning the division, and potentially the second team might just make the playoffs as a wild card.
Now, getting back to the good, we already done the bad and ugly with the Steelers. So, again, with the good, with your Washington football team and the Giants for showing up for in the NFC least and actually turning some heads. How about we talking about coaching? Coaching in the NFL matters, and it matters a whole
lot.
See, you know what's going on in New York with the Giants. You know what's going on in Washington. Ron Rivera, he had a swing of bad luck with the Panthers the last two seasons. The man landed on his feet, albeit in one of the most dysfunctional franchises. That's thanks to your boy, Danny Boy Snyder, the owner. But how about through his cancer treatments, he has his team, your team, tied for first place right now.
Yeah.
Now, I know that technically the Giants are first place because they swept y'all. But still, the fact that you are in this position right now, on Alex Smith as your quarterback. I mean, look, Alex Smith is not a scrub, but he's coming back 2 years off an injury on the verge of losing one of his legs and his life. That shows you how bad the quarterback situation is in Washington. but he's balling. He's staying efficient. He's not making too many mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's a steady influence on offense where you got a defense that he have all those studs in the defensive line. Man, shoot, in 2 years, maybe next year, you guys are going to be hellified on defense. Same with the Giants, too. But we're talking about Washington right now. But the point is that, I got to give y'all props. And one more quick thing before I turn it back over to you to get your closing thoughts on this game and on the NFC East for that matter. Like I read it on Twitter, on Facebook. Normally I go off on a loss, especially a bad loss where my team performed badly to a team that's desperate in Washington. Was late Monday afternoon. But my dad, my late father, he's a Washington fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about him. Like normally when we on the rare years that occasion that we play each other, we would call each other. And we just run off with the mouth. My dad didn't talk a lot of trash. He likes to make people laugh. So we were just going back and forth. And normally Washington's not in a good position, so he was afraid to watch the game. But he'll watch anyway. He'll watch anyway because he wants to talk to me about it. And so this year has been, I lost him over the summer, as some people know. It's been difficult because we normally call each other after every game on Sunday as it is. And, and talk about it and talk throughout the week. But this one, these rare occasions I said earlier, where our two favorite teams will play each other, there will be talking and hilariousness ensuing, but he's no longer here. But I sometimes feel that this was my dad's way of saying, not today, son. We got to get back in this. We're going to give you that 1L. You can't get over me from heaven. So, again, rest in peace to my pops. I love him. I miss him.
Yeah.
And it's been a difficult year for me personally. Namely, aside for the other shit that's going on in 2020, but namely his passing. I'm gonna have a numb feeling forever about this. So, just for basically, I'm not gonna stay too long on this, but for those of you out there with elderly parents or grandparents, cherish them. Mm-hmm. Tell them you love them every day. Make sure they know. Thankfully, I told my dad that many times, and including the time right before he passed. So I'm forever grateful for that. But still, cherish them, especially in this COVID age now, because you never know when their time may be up. So I just wanted to say that before we go to the rest of the I promise to turn it back over to you for the closing thoughts on your teams. Like, how do you see your team the rest of the year? Because I don't have his schedule out in front of me, but how do you see them? Because I think they play Baltimore, right? I think they play.
Oh no, we've already
that's right. Yeah, you play Baltimore. You play Cincinnati.
Baltimore. Yeah.
You already played Cincinnati. You beat Cincinnati.
Played Cincinnati. Yeah.
You played Cleveland already. Okay, so you're done with the AFC. Okay.
In the division already.
Right. Well, you're done with the AFC now. So basically, you have Philly left. I know that. What are the other games off the top of your head?
I'm about to pull it up now. Okay. San Francisco comes up this week, so we have
wow, yeah.
Yeah, so we have
desperate teams.
We two extremely desperate teams because San Fran is currently in that 6th or 7th spot. Let me check to make sure.
They're one of the teams that on the outside looking in right now, but they're close. They're one of the teams that are close.
I'm sorry, that's Arizona that's inside at the 6th spot. San Fran is one of those teams on the outside looking in at 5-7, along with Washington. They both need this win to keep pace on both points, both the playoffs for both teams and the divisional championship for Washington. Then after that, they have Seattle at home. Carolina comes to D.C. in a rematch.
Right.
Well, not a rematch, but in a grudge match between Rivera and his entire staff versus the Carolina Panthers. And then go back up to Philly in the new year to play Philadelphia. But, we got Kyle Shanahan facing his old team along with Trent Williams. I completely forgot about Trent Williams.
Oh, yeah, that's juicy. Yes.
Yeah, so Trent Williams and Jordan Reed, the tight end, will be facing his old mates here in D.C. Will be facing in Arizona. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that game is played out. But to make sure that there aren't any issues, they're going to have to win out.
Right.
And,
Yes, exactly.
San Francisco, that's a 50-50 game. That's a toss-up for me. Seattle, the way that Seattle was looking right now, and the
That's a
fact that they have
possibility. That's a possibility,
that's
bro.
a possibility game. Because
Yeah.
if you're capable of putting pressure on
Russell Wilson. Yeah.
and making him make mistakes, the way that the Giants have done, that could be a steal, but I'm not counting that one just yet. Carolina, depending upon who's healthy for them when they come to DC, that game could potentially be a battle. And then they go up to Philly, and depending upon how Philly rebounds with Jalen Hurts as quarterback and whether or not he may be starting at the end of the season or not will be very interesting. To see how that team looks with a new look quarterback and a healthy Nelson Aguilar. And who's the wide receiver that they drafted as well that I can't remember?
I'm sorry. Which did we talk about, the Giants or Washington? Sorry.
The Eagles. The Eagles.
Eagles. Yeah, I forget who it is, but he had a punt return for a touchdown against the Packers.
I think his name is Ragor. I can't remember what his
Yeah.
Let me see. Matter of fact, I should be able to pull it up right now. Why am I guessing?
Sounds about right.
Well, here we go. No, that's not him. Yeah, Jalen Reagor. I was right with the last name. So yeah, Nelson Aguilar is coming back. Well, actually, Nelson Aguilar is back, and Jalen Reagor played last week as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see now with pass catches for them how that Philadelphia Eagles offense is going to look toward the end of the season.
Well, I got the Giants schedule up. They host the Cardinals. The Cardinals are looking terrible the last few weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised they get the. So keep in mind this: the Cardinals are 6-6, right? If the Giants beat the Cardinals, that gives the Giants a tiebreak on the Cardinals, and that would put them in the event that if they come in second in the division or what have you, that technically puts them right above the Cardinals.
Exactly.
That puts them above the Cardinals. You can believe that shit. Then they host the Browns on Sunday night. That would be a huge game for both squads competing for playoffs berths. And they go to Baltimore the following week. Then they host the Cowgirls. So it's pretty outside of the Baltimore game and maybe Cleveland. How good they're looking. We'll get to Cleveland in a minute. The Giants probably will finish no worse than 2-2 down the stretch, and that would put them at 7-9 at the worst.
Yeah.
We wouldn't saying that when the Giants started off 0-5, right? When they start the season 0-5, they have a chance to finish no worse than 7-9.
Yes, so for them to make a turnaround and finish the season 7-4 is remarkable.
Yes, it is.
It is remarkable, and I really can't speak, but so much negative about that, other than the fact of drat. And that's the clean version. Because I hate to have to see it in a year in which Washington is also looking good. But, the both of them are competing hard for this playoff spot and this divisional title. Whereas it was said in the beginning of the season that both of these teams should be tanking potentially to get more talent on their respective rosters.
No, they're playing their asses off, both of them.
They're playing real hard right now. But it is what it is. Big ups to Joe Judge for turning that program around the way that he did in midseason. And big ups to Ron Rivera amongst all of the stuff that he had to deal with since his hiring, having to deal with the name change, having to deal with the controversy about the ownership.
The cancer diagnosis.
The cancer, nonetheless.
Yeah.
So just having to deal with all of that and still keeping this team competitive. Big ups to him and his staff.
All right, we're going to get into a couple more things, other games. How about the Browns? I mentioned the Browns earlier, beating the Titans. They were up 38-7 at the half. Outscored 28-3 in the second half, but that's besides the point. But they were up 38-7. The Cleveland Browns were up on the squad 38-7 at the half. They have 9 wins on the season. They're looking good. The offense is humming along. And Baker Mayfield played one hell of a game. He won that game.
Yeah.
He didn't manage that game. He won that game. So I can't believe I'm about to hear myself say this. The Browns are a threat in the AFC. They are. They're 9-3. Their running game is tops in the league. The Pittsburgh and Baltimore are the only teams that stopped them on the ground. I think the Raiders did too, to an extent. But the point is that these Browns are looking good, man. And they have a possibility looking at the rest of the schedule to finish no worse than 11-5. When was the last time you said that about a Browns team? But again, that's coaching for you.
It is.
This new coach that they wanted to hire last year rather, but the former general manager wanted someone he could control Freddie Kitchens. But give me your thoughts on the Browns, because I know you were chomping at the bit about it.
Yes, I am. You said, honestly, when was the last time you can say that the Browns would have a double-digit win season?
Right.
5 weeks ago.
Right.
It was after they lost to the Raiders,
right?
Where they had fallen to 5-3. They were just 5-2 at that point.
Yep.
They were 5-2 at that point, and right before losing to the Raiders, dropping them to 5-3. And I said, if you looked at the rest of their schedule is set up for them to have double-digit wins and finish at a minimum of 10-6. And I said, they had Houston, who looked bad, Philly, who was looking bad, Jacksonville was Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
I questioned the game, but as they built up to that game, their running game started to flourish, and I was expecting this to be a ground and pound game between the Titans and the Browns, but it turned out to be an aerial show with both quarterbacks passing for well over 300 yards. With Baker being the more successful, being the victor in that situation, but Tannehill had more yardage. And then, you got the Ravens, who have looked iffy in weeks, the Giants, who are getting better, but this Browns team with this win over the Titans has proven that they are for real.
Yes.
That's who they can beat.
God, yes.
And then the Steelers at the end of the season.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the Steelers aren't necessarily playing for a perfect season anymore.
Right.
But, of course, will they rest players today?
Yeah.
Will they be fighting for a division title at that point? Who knows how the Steelers or what type of situation the Steelers are going to be at the end of the season and what the Browns will have to be doing at that point. But either way, even if they go 2-2, which is doable, that's still 11-5.
11-5, brother.
11-5.
11
and
freaking 5.
The last time the Browns were 11-5? Do you know?
Let's see. If they were exactly 11-5 in 1980, but they had great teams in the 80s. So I think 80 was it 86? I think they won 12 games in 86. That's back when they were done by Elway's the drive, drive by Elway. I remember watching that game.
Do you want to know the last time they were 11-5, Scott?
What now?
Do you want to know the last time they were 11-5?
Yes, please. Enlighten me.
You were probably in Raleigh at this point. It was 1994.
Wow.
I know I was in Greensboro. Wait a minute. Fall 94, I was in Greensboro. Yes, I was.
Yeah, I was in Raleigh. Yeah, I was just starting at NC State. Yeah, so, wow.
I mean, 2007, they were 10-6. But then the last time they were 11-5 was 1994.
Yes, that's when Bill Belichick was coaching that squad. They led them to the divisional round. They lost to my Steelers 29-9 in the divisional round in Three River Stadium. I remember watching that game. That was a Giant-like team. They remind me of a lot of the Giants. They had Carl Banks in that squad. They had a few other Giants personnel in that squad.
Johnson was probably on that squad.
I think Pepper Johnson was on that squad too. Exactly. So So it was like New York Giants Midwest style.
Yeah.
So, but that was a great team in and of itself. But that's crazy. That's crazy. You have to go back that far.
That was the same year that Biggie's Ready to Die dropped. Oh
Oh,
my God,
wow.
Biggie and Tupac was still on the block.
Wow.
Lord Jesus.
They were both in the primes at that point.
And it was the prime.
Wow.
1994. Lord Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
94 shit for that ass. Yes.
Craig
Baby,
Mack was
baby.
doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, flavor in your ear was ringing that fall of 94. Lord Jesus. Everywhere I
Oh,
went in Greensboro, all I heard was just like you and the blab. Man, that's 94. 94.
90s were great for hip hop, man. 90s was the golden age of hip hop were the 90s. I don't give a damn what people say about the 80s. I like the 80s too, but damn it, I say damn it too many times, but damn it, I'm saying it again. the golden age of hip hop were the 90s. That's what I remember about that. And that was the last time the Browns were pretty much worth a damn. About
Around
around
that
that
time,
time.
we got Midnight Marauders. Lord Jesus.
92, yeah. So, woo, before we get on this hip hop, because we could talk hip hop, 90s hip hop for like hours and hours and hours, but we're gonna keep it on the sports.
That's well, right?
I promise y'all, we're gonna keep it on the sports, but yeah, 90s hip hop, that's the best age of hip hop. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, so we're talking about the Browns. Yes, so
Yes.
So the Browns in the driver's seat right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins are looking pretty good.
They are.
How about the coach? Again, coaching matters. How about the job the brother man Brian Flores is doing? But speaking of coaches, let me ask you one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible, given New England's big win in against the Chargers? Love the Chargers uniforms, by the way. Is it possible, given that the Patriots are sitting at 6-6, could it be that they are still going to make a little bit of noise in the AFC East? And if that's the case, I mean, could Belichick really get this squad, this motley crew of a squad, with all these COVID defections before the year? Cam Newton throwing for less than 50 yards a game, and could he get that squad into playoff contention and be a real factor? Bill Belichick. That's why he's a GOAT as far as coaching goes. But could it be possible that the Patriots will have something to say about playoff spots in the end when it's all said and done? Could it be?
There'll be a threat. The only way that there'll be a real threat, though, is to compete for the division title. I don't know if they sneak in as a wild card because of the teams like the Titans, or unless they're capable of catching the Miami Dolphins. But as of right now, they're currently 2 games out, so they're going to need a lot of help from teams ahead of them, or potentially behind them to get some wins so they can bounce up.
Yeah.
But like I said, the Bills will be interesting because they face the Steelers this week. They go to Denver to face the Broncos. Then they go to New England to face the Patriots, and then they end the season off against Miami. So if Miami is competing for a title, that could be a huge threat for the Bills, not for a title, but for a playoff spot. That could be a huge threat for the Bills, depending upon what the Patriots do at the crib. And then the Steelers are rebounding after their loss. So if somehow, some way, the Bills end the year 1-3,
Yeah.
Things will get interesting because of the fact that the Patriots are right there. But the Patriots are going to have to win out. The Patriots cannot lose again and expect to make the playoffs, because as of right now, the teams in the 6 and 7 spots, being the Dolphins and the Colts, both have 4 losses. They're both 8-4.
Well, speaking of which, let's just close this NFL segment. I should say, to go to college football. We all seen the college football playoff rankings. We've seen them. We had a time to digest them. I have a lot to say about this. I know you have a lot to say about this as well. So let me just get my little rant out of the way. I'm gonna get the floor to you. I don't have a problem with the top 4 slots. I think no one in America has a problem with the top 4 spots. Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State. Well, not right now anyway. I don't have a problem with Ohio State being in the 4th spot right now. What I do have a problem with, it's a huge problem that I did not see coming. I don't think many people saw it coming. What the fuck is Iowa State doing at number 7?
I don't know.
They lost twice. Okay,
Yeah.
they lost twice. They got one of those losses was not only a loss but a beatdown to a Sun Belt team called Louisiana, who is also very good, but they're ranked number 19 with just one loss.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they beat Iowa State. I don't give a damn if Iowa State had COVID infections or not. They went in Iowa State's house and beat that ass. Two special team scores.
Mm-hmm.
But still, last I checked, special teams is one of the three phases of the game.
Yeah, it is.
You got to play good special teams, man. I'm sorry. But the point is that why the fuck is Iowa State, you put them ahead of the University of Cincinnati, ahead of UC, which have not lost. You bump UC down, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Move their asses up. But you also have them ranked ahead of a team that they hadn't played. I don't think they play Louisiana yet, in Coastal Carolina, who was 10-0.
Yeah.
Who is a damn good team. Anyone who's one thing about this year, man, ESPN has given the Sun Belt a lot of love. So we've seen a lot of Sun Belt games, seen a lot of Appalachian State even. We've seen a lot of Louisiana. We've seen some of Georgia Southern. And we've seen a whole lot of Coastal Carolina. And rightfully so.
That's the benefit of the Power Five starting late.
Yes.
And with that, it exposed the network and America to the other five conferences,
right.
And so that they can play football as well.
Yes.
So that some of them start to win,
right.
and it became stories that everyone in America wants to continue to watch. So yeah, that's how we continue to end up still watching the likes of Coastal Carolina right now. So yeah,
and Marshall was balling before they got beat by Rice, but still, that's Conference USA. Okay, but still, aside from American Athletic Conference, they play damn good football every year for the past 3 years. I think we all understand that. Fans understand it. But Sun Belt is finally getting some love. And how about the Sun Belt owning the Big 12's asses for the first 3 weeks of the season? Okay? But you're going to put Iowa State, 2-loss Iowa State, ahead of UC, ahead of Coastal Carolina, and ahead of the team that smacked them in their own house in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me? Because I don't know what the fuck the committee is thinking.
I don't either. I don't. I really don't. As much as my cohorts, Coach and Lou complain about Ohio State, and rightfully so.
Sure.
They haven't said a word about Iowa State. They really haven't. Because that's
people don't know what to make of it.
Egregious, if not more so, right? Because at least Ohio State hasn't lost, right? And I know their rule. This is their rule that if you're without a loss, you're in their top 10. Right?
Correct.
Iowa State got 2 L's.
Yes.
And one of those being to, like you said, Louisiana in week 1.
Right.
But somehow they rebound and go, 8-1 since then?
Yeah.
And they're good enough to be number 7?
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Because they beat teams in their trash conference? I guess.
It's bullshit. They want a reason. The committee wants a reason to keep UC out. I don't care what anybody says. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, not just UC, but also the likes of Coastal Carolina.
Yeah. They want a reason to keep those guys out from the group of 5. That's all this shit is. Let's just be real about it. There's a reason why Georgia, 2-loss Georgia is in the top 10. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. I get Florida being a number 6. I don't have a problem with Florida being a number 6. I don't have a problem with Texas A&M being number 5. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're going to probably bump Texas A&M down because they're not going to play for the conference championship. And Florida is more than likely going to lose to Alabama, probably get their asses kicked. So they're going to have 2 L's. So that will take care of them. I don't have a problem with A&M nor Florida being where they are at. I just don't understand for the life of me why have an Iowa State team that lost to Louisiana and lost to Oklahoma State. But they're number 7 in the nation. The 7th.
I really don't get.
I don't get that. I do not get that shit.
Matter of fact, I don't get how Iowa State is over Georgia, because
thank you. I actually agree. I second that. Even I think as over there as Georgia is, they have no business being behind Iowa State. But continue.
No.
That's a good point. That's a good observation.
No, because I mean, the committee is probably like with Georgia, their 2 losses are to number 1 Alabama and to number 6 Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we put Georgia where they are.
Right.
But behind Iowa State,
yeah,
I guess.
I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. But I'll say this. There's still an outside chance, looking at the rankings right now, there's still an outside chance Cincinnati may get some play. I mean, for what to happen now, they will have to pull for Oklahoma to beat Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. That's what's going to have to happen, number 1. Number 2, they're going to have to pull for Florida to lose.
Yeah.
I don't think they could possibly justify putting A&M ahead of Cincinnati if Cincinnati wins out and beats Tulane, the champion. Is it Tulsa? No, Tulsa. I'm sorry. Beats Tulsa and the American Athletic Conference championship. I don't think the committee would try to justify that. So really, it comes down to what happens with Ohio State. And so, and let me just ask you this. Speaking of Ohio State, you heard the news that after Michigan, and you called it, and I think I second your notion, your emotion rather, that Michigan was going to try and screw Ohio State. You, my friend, Nicodemus, is a fucking genius. You saw this coming. I wondered, I thought it'd be funny if it happened. It actually happened. But guess what the Big Ten did? They caved into the cash cow. Let's call it for what it is. They caved into the cash cow. That's Ohio State. Do you think they'll be doing this for Michigan State?
No.
Do you think they'll be doing this for Northwestern? Do you think they'll be doing this for Indiana?
They're not doing it for Indiana. They're not doing it for Maryland. They're not doing it for Rutgers. They're not doing it for
Wisconsin.
Indiana. They're not doing it for Wisconsin. They might do it for Wisconsin, but they're not doing it for Northwestern. They might do it for Michigan State. They'll do it for Michigan.
They'll do it for Michigan, but Michigan State's not a brand like Michigan is.
No, God, no.
So basically, it is what it is. I saw a comment said they're going to try and bend the rules because what the Big Ten does not want to happen. They don't want to be left out, and I can't blame them. That's a lot of money. I can't blame them. But the irony in this is that this conference wanted to be the trendsetter and cancel all fall sports. Remember, along with the Pac-12, they followed around their coattails. That caused a whole domino effect to happen with the Mountain West and everybody else, and the MAC. And they coming back with left no wiggle room whatsoever in the case of canceled games. As a result, Wisconsin was a casualty. They can't compete for the conference title. Not that it matters because I only lost twice, if I'm not mistaken. And that leaves them with Northwestern. They hold down the fort to carry the flag for the West. And it would have been Indiana, IU in the East. It would have been IU in the East. So the Big Ten sat back, looked at this and said, yeah, we got to fix this. We got to get our cash cow up in there. And that's exactly what they did. Again, I'm not mad at them for doing it. It's all about this in the end. They may say it's otherwise, but we all know it's about this in the end. Both of these.
Yeah.
It's all about that in the end. That's the cash cow. And that's the best way of getting to the college football playoff. But getting back to what you mentioned last week about the committee having to make a decision that would not be a great decision that they may not feel good about, rather. I want you to expound on that right quick and let me know where you're thinking and how it's looking, that possibility, how the likelihood of that possibility is. Now with this announcement about the Big Ten letting Ohio State have the kitty.
Well, this is where let me start from first and foremost, right? I prefer the name Nostradamus. I'll take that.
Oh, Nostradamus, I got you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take Negrodamus too, but Nostradamus, it's something that I've been rolling with for for some time now. But I'll take Nicodemus too.
Got it.
But the thing was, all I did was just read the tea leaves. I read the tea leaves, and I also said to myself, if I was Jim Harbaugh, what would I do? And I'm a jerk, so I'm like, okay, I could, right? And then, like I said before, like I said last week, that the parents are having a meeting and looking to cancel the final game. I said, okay, this is starting to fall in the line right now, right? But the thing is this. I said this last night on the show, and I'm gonna say it again tonight. One of my favorite sports movies of all time is White Men Can't Jump. And there's a line in the movie by the very beautiful Rosie Perez that goes, sometimes we said the line goes, sometimes when you win, you actually lose. When you lose, you actually win. And when you tie, you actually win and lose. And when you win and lose, you actually tie. How that makes sense with what's going on now in the Big Ten is that, like you said, they need they need Ohio State to make it into the playoffs, because every conference that is involved in the CFP gets a cut of that money.
$50 million, bro.
Yes. And that means all of the teams within that conference get a cut of that dough.
Correct.
So for every participant that is in there, right? So why not do whatever you can to make sure that your best, the team that has the highest chance of getting in, gets in unscathed. And with that cancellation, I knew that the Big Ten would acquiesce, or the way that was brought up on our show last night, that they would at least attempt to set up a situation where an additional game would be set up for them to play. But it looks like they're just going to go ahead and just open the door to the title game for them anyway. Why not? Because they need them in. The thing is, Ohio State can't lose in the title game. Because correct. If they do,
they're out.
This is for naught, and they're out. So the Big Ten is really gambling with this, but at the same time, they're gambling with house money because they truly believe that Ohio State can win this. But the thing is, if they lose, this is going to be Wile E. Coyote-esque in terms of this calamity and it blowing up in their face. So they need Ohio State to win. But if they don't, that's where things get interesting. Because, like I was telling the guys last night, that could potentially lead to 3 SEC teams potentially getting into the playoffs. And I don't know if we want to see that. Either way, there's a chance that we're going to get 2 teams from one conference in.
I think it's ACC.
And
I think it's the ACC.
Right now, it's really looking like the ACC, right? Because we're expecting that game to be a tight one. But if somehow, some way, Clemson comes out and mollywops Notre Dame drops out, and that could open the door for either Texas A&M, who doesn't have to play a title game, or Florida, if they're capable of playing a tight one. If they're capable of beating.
They got to beat them.
They got to beat Alabama.
They got to beat Alabama. They can't. They would have 2 losses. They don't. They
and if they beat Alabama.
They're not beating Alabama. Spoiler alert, they're not beating Alabama. Anyone see Alabama play this year, no one's stopping that train. Hey, nowhere in the hell no one's stopping that train.
No, the way that they look right now, yes. But to quote the one Jamie Foxx from his sports movie, sacrifice, don't give up the fight. Everything's going to be all right on any given Saturday in this case.
Saturday.
But it's Saturday in this case.
Nice.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if they do beat them. But like I said before, it still opens up the door for 3 SEC teams to get in there. And I know there are going to be a lot of people upset if that happens. A lot of people. So
check the scenario out, man. If things go the way they're supposed to go, half the way. Clemson beats Notre Dame. I think Clemson's going to beat the hell out of Notre Dame. That's just me. So that happens. Alabama beats Florida. Okay. And so that's half of what should happen, right?
Yeah.
So given that scenario, if Clemson beats the hell out of Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame's out. I think Notre Dame's out. So especially if they beat them as badly as I think they're going to beat Notre Dame because they'll be fully healthy. With Trevor Lawrence backing us out. And, of course, Alabama will still be number one, close to Bobby be number two. All right, here's the second half of this scenario. What if all hell breaks loose with the Big Ten championship? What if Northwestern overcomes the biased officiating, overcomes other shenanigans, prove on the conference to get the cash cow Ohio State in there? Will they pull the upset? That would mean that Ohio State is out. Okay? I think Oklahoma's going to beat Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. And I don't think Oklahoma's going to – Oklahoma's so far behind, they're not getting it. Whoever – no matter who wins that game, they're not getting in the college football playoff. I don't think they are.
No.
So that leaves the University of Cincinnati and Texas A&M. Okay? We already established that Alabama and Clemson are the top two teams. What if the second half of the scenario happens and you have Texas A&M sitting there at number 5, and you have UC who beats, if they were to beat Tulsa in the conference championship, finish the season undefeated 9-0. You have the sum right there. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
What am I going to do, or what is the committee going to do?
What do you think the committee is going to do? What would you suspect the committee is going to do?
Well, that's the interesting part. What will they do? Will they go ahead and do the right thing and go ahead and put Cincinnati in and potentially, God, who would you put in after that? That's where it gets tricky.
I put A&M in. I put A&M in.
That's what I'm saying. A&M doesn't lose in that situation, so they probably get elated. That means it will probably be Alabama 1, Clemson 2, A&M 3, and Cincinnati 4 in that situation.
Yep.
But God, I don't want to see Alabama and Cincinnati play. But
I don't think the committee does either. I don't think the committee does either. I don't think the committee. If the committee would they? It's all about matchups, right? Would the committee want to see Alabama and Texas A&M play for a second time in that scenario? We always saw what happened this first time around. They blew the doors off of A&M. So they will probably want to put them against Clemson, right?
Yeah.
So again, which is like you said, would the committee want to see Cincinnati taking on Alabama, be huge underdogs? And Cincinnati is they're a damn good football team. The Bearcats are damn.
It'll be a great story. Yeah.
But they won't have a great ending. I don't think they have a great ending.
You know what? Then they will be rewarded the same way that Notre Dame was rewarded last year, for being undefeated and not having a blemish. And then, of course, the teams ahead of them losing. But it's going to take a lot of losing for that to happen. Yeah. And a lot of big losing too in order for that to happen. Yeah.
Again, Notre Dame has to get the asses kicked. Ohio State has to get upset. But even if Ohio State were to win, Ohio State would be 3 in that scenario, I think. Right? And or this is tough. Would the committee want to see Clemson, Ohio State Part 5? Or would they want to see and watch Clemson dominate Ohio State, not dominate, but beating Ohio State again and crushing their dreams? Or would they want to see them play Cincinnati and or A&M for that matter, and have Ohio State play? Now they're talking about ratings. If they got Ohio State playing Alabama, as the 4-1 matchup, that would be juicy. Two brands going against each other. I think that would be juicy.
It would. The thing, though, in order for that to happen, that would mean that once again, if Notre Dame drops, if Texas A&M is bypassed, which I probably don't think that would be the case in that situation, but Texas A&M would have to leapfrog Ohio State, which I doubt because they won't have the game to do it. Yeah. And then that would mean that not just Texas A&M, but Cincinnati would have to leapfrog them. And in order for that to happen, God, they will probably have to beat Temple by 100. Yeah. So that's why I don't necessarily, even if Ohio State wins, I don't see Ohio State staying at 4. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't. They would move up to 3, especially if Notre Dame loses. So it just depends upon how they see 4 at that point. Does Notre Dame stay there based upon how they lose, or does someone else come in because the door is now open?
Yeah, this will be interesting. That's why.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves going forward. I think this is going to hasten the playoff expansion talks even more. Because this is why you need a czar. I don't think it's going to happen. That's why you need a commissioner in college football. And there's already talks about the FBS being recommended they break off away from this debate anyway, but which will lend more to having the commissioner of sorts, because you have situations where teams play less games, conferences play less conference games, this games period. You have this inequity going on with Ohio State playing less than 6 games compared to a team like Clemson, Alabama, who's played 9 and 10 games. That just doesn't jive, right? So it's going to be a lot of changes, I think. There's going to be a lot of talks. There'll be a lot of hand wrangling amongst conferences. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be interesting come next year or the spring. That's what college football is, because this year's a trip, man. I think it's going to expose a lot of hypocrisies.
A whole lot of hypocrisies. But the thing is, though, is hopefully everything will be better, and we don't have to deal with this type of situation come 2021. But the thing is, now we know, right? And now we precedence has been set, and then they will have to address it just in case it potentially happens next year. But like I said before, the hope is that it doesn't, and then everything goes back to normal, and we just play the way that we normally will play, and we don't have to do it. But now I really hope that lessons are learned from this, and that plan Bs are now set up just in case situations like this were to happen again in the future. But hopefully they don't. This is one of those once in 100-year pandemic situations that we're faced with right now, and I really hope that we don't see anything like this in my lifetime.
We'll get you. Let's close the show on this, man. Boxing. Yeah. Errol Spence Jr. It's a bad man. Coming off of the car accident that probably should have claimed his life. If you know about the damage and how it was hitting everything else. But God bless him, he came back in the ring and he beat Danny Garcia in the unanimous decision. He has all these world titles now. So basically now, with him being the king, or what is he, a welterweight? What?
Yes, he's welterweight. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I thought. A welterweight. He's the king of the welterweight division. So, what's next for? I mean, it's like I want to see him play. I think who could challenge him. I want to see him get in the ring with Porter. I want to see him get in the ring with that guy. I think Terrence Crawford, not Porter. Terrence Crawford, my bad. Terrence Crawford.
Okay.
I want to see him get in the ring with Crawford because, these two cats are pound for pound the best welterweights in the world right now. And I think a fight between these two would be huge because, I mean, look, Errol Spence, he made it easy against Danny Garcia, right? And Danny Garcia, he did the best he could. He's no scrub, but Spence made it look easy. That's how great he is. So, I mean, all that's left now is a super fight in the welterweight division where you have Spence v. Crawford. What are your thoughts on that?
Boy, I'm hoping that it happens.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, they are combined 64-0 with 49 knockouts. It would be great for boxing to have this unification super fight between the two of them in the welterweight division.
Yes.
And we would probably end up getting a pound-for-pound champion of the world out of that as well.
You got it.
Like you said, Errol Spence is coming off a big win against Danny Garcia. But Crawford is coming off a big win against what's your boy's name? Kell Brooks, back in November. A 4-round TKO over Kell Brooks. So it will be. I would love to see that fight, and because I'm gonna go ahead and say it out loud. This influencer boxing that's coming up right now with the likes of Jake Paul and what he did to Nate Robinson that's what people are more interested in seeing than actual boxing.
Isn't that sad?
It is sad. It's very sad. It's sad for boxing, but it's a positive for boxing. We're not necessarily getting a lot of acclaim for our traditional boxers, but people are just coming out to see fights. They just want to see a fight. And if these boxers keep messing around and keep jockeying for position and fighting certain guys and not fighting other guys and lengthening out the time in which we get these super fights, people will continue to say screw it. They've already said screw it and moved on to MMA. Let's go ahead and go. I'm not going to say down the rung. Let's go into a different direction. Hey, if these non-boxers want to fight, and I want to see somebody get knocked out, and God knows if we get the comedy like we did from Snoop Dogg again to do commentary, that's what I'm going to watch until they go ahead and put on great boxing with actual boxers. Now, Anthony Joshua has a title fight coming up this weekend that a lot of people aren't talking about. He's going to defend his IBF and WBO titles on Saturday. So, like I said before, outside of boxing fans, no one is talking about this. So,
isn't that sad? Isn't that sad that y'all have some YouTuber stole the show 2 Saturday nights ago against Nate Robinson? 2 non-boxers stole the show in the boxing world. 2
non-boxers.
That's sad.
Matter of fact, it is. But Mike Tyson said it best that these guys are saving boxing. If they can continue to bring eyes on the sport, he's not necessarily worried about boxers. He's concerned about the sport.
The sport.
And I don't begrudge Tyson for doing that. But I just hope that this doesn't dilute the expectations for fans when they're watching boxing instead of watching a fight. Now, I will say this. What's his name? Because I don't confuse him with his brother. Because it's Logan Paul, who is the brother, who is actually slated to fight Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather, right?
In an exhibition coming up in February. His brother is the one that beat
Jake Paul did.
Nate Robinson.
You knocked him the hell out,
Jake Paul, that's his name. Jake Paul. Jake actually trains, and I've seen his training footage.
Looks respectable too, as a matter of fact.
He does look respectable. I don't know if I necessarily still want to see him against another boxer yet.
Sure.
But well, no, I do, because I want to see this dude get knocked out. I do, because
there's talk that he wants to fight dude from MMA.
Conor McGregor. He wants to fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
But Conor McGregor, again, isn't necessarily a boxer either.
Correct.
And
he can fight, though.
He can fight.
Yeah.
One of the issues with Conor, though, is that Conor he did a good job, but his stamina.
Yeah.
But we don't know how long Jake can go.
Mm-hmm.
And Conor did a decent job defensively, which is going to be leaps and bounds beyond what Nate Robinson was doing, because he only got punched 8 times, and half of those punches knocked him on his face.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting Conor to be a better defender if that were to ever to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but for this to lead up to Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather to fight in the exhibition fight is interesting. Of course, Floyd is doing it for the money, and this is an exhibition. And Floyd, yeah, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Floyd is going to this thinking that he's not going to get hurt. I could just go ahead and get an easy payday and get right back out and won't have to risk losing. So why not do it, right? I do the same thing too. Yeah. It makes fiscal sense. I'm not mad at him. But the thing is, though, I just hope that fans go into this not expecting a lot out of this. Floyd isn't necessarily a power puncher, but I do believe he has the power to knock out Logan Paul. But I don't know if he actually goes for a knockout against Logan Paul in this exhibition. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Snoop Dogg does want to commentate, which means I'll be there.
I'll be tuning in for that.
And I'm there all for that. And speaking of with Snoop Dogg is looking to do a fight league with Thriller, the network that actually.
That'd be great for Snoop.
It would be. It just expands his brand just to another level.
Good for him.
And that's all we need, right? Is for more Snoop Dogg. But hey,
yes.
You know what? It's not like I'm tired of him because I'm not.
How can you be tired of Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg's like pizza. How can you say no to pizza? It's there. It's good. You know it's good.
Yeah.
Even bad Snoop Dogg is good. It's like, I still have a little bit of Snoop Dogg. Why not, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Snoop Dogg having his own fight league. He's calling it the Fight Club. With Thriller, like I said, that's the network that did the whole Tyson Jones fight. So yeah, he's gonna do this all next year. They're gonna have about somewhere between 5 to 8 events throughout the year, where they have a couple of bouts per event. So that'll be interesting because Snoop Dogg will be doing commentary during that fight and being the host. So that'll be fun for next year. And also, Evander Holyfield has called out Mike Tyson too.
Oh, stop it! Stop it!
I'm not lying.
Stop it!
Actually, Holyfield said that he was reaching out to Mike so that it could be him and Tyson instead of Jones and Tyson, but Tyson said no. And to quote Evander said, "I see why he said no. Watching him against Jones, he needed that tune-up before he comes up against me." Wow. And I just find it funny. Holyfield's 58, Tyson's 54. Yeah. They are combined 112 years old.
Again, there's 2 other uncles. One uncle beat the other uncle. Now he's going to take on the crazy uncle. That's what this is. We need Snoop Dogg commentating that fight too. We need more Snoop Dogg in the world, and make it happen. Because Snoop Dogg at his worst is 1,000 times better than me at my best. So I'll take it.
Hey, so will I. So I'm just hoping the best for this, and hopefully, but we're not seeing any dividends from this yet because we just had 2 great fights. Correct. That no one is talking about outside of the boxing world,
right?
With Bud Crawford and Errol Spence walking away with wins. We're still talking about Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Still, but we just had 2 pound for pound greats go into the ring and do work, and no one outside of boxing fans are talking about it.
Yeah, that's sad. All right, man. It is what it is, but it's a wrap. Another episode, another video episode of the Klown Hour. Please check out my man D Nash on the Yard Show, CFP Sports, the rest of all things CFP Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Please check out his work on herosports.com, FCS Talk, especially with HBCUs. Please check out the merch here on cafepress.com/the Clown Time Sports. Again, it's Clown spelled with K. Please subscribe on YouTube. Check me out on iTunes. Also, please check out my sports bar, the Clown Times, as well. It's a wrap. Until next time, please, during this pandemic, stay your ass at home. If you're outside, please wear a mask. And please, God, wear a mask. I don't want to go outside again. But nevertheless, a big 06. Peace out. Good night to all. Yeah.
Peace.